Krishna. Good morning, everybody, from Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta Madhya-līlā in West London, and we're reading from Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta, and yesterday we had Saraswati Didi reading, and now Saraswati is cooking in the kitchen, so you have myself reading.
Right.
Okay, and so we are on Madhya-līlā, chapter 24, and the title is The Explanations of the Ātmārāma verse, and where Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu has been explaining all the different ways of the Ātmārāma verse, and we're now coming to the end, almost to the end of it. And the previous verses, before we get to the verse we're on today, is text 329, and the previous verse was I'll go back from 326. So Sanatana Goswami then requested the Lord, please personally tell me how I can write this difficult book about Vaishnava behavior. Please manifest yourself in my heart. If you would please manifest yourself within my heart and personally direct me in writing this book, then although I am low-born, I may hope to be able to write it. You can do this because you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead yourself, and whatever you direct is perfect. Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu replied, whatever you want to do, you will be able to do it correctly. By Lord Krishna's favor, he will manifest the real purport. So now we're on the new verse today. So text 329. The Madhya-līlā, chapter 24. Because you asked me for a tatapi a sucheva shuna dig darashana sakarana liki ado guru ashrayana. Because you asked me for a synopsis, please hear these few indications. In the beginning, one must take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Guru Lakshana, Shishya Lakshana. Donhara Parikasana. Saya Bhagavan Sava Mantra Vicharana. In your book, there should be the characteristics of the bona fide Guru and the bona fide disciple. Then, before accepting the spiritual master, one can be assured of the spiritual master's position. Similarly, the spiritual master can also be assured of the disciple's position. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, should be described as the worshipable object, and you should consider the bija mantra for the worship of Krishna, Ram, or any other expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, to this verse and some other verses, there's a very, very long purport. So Saraswati told me to miss the purport. I just go straight onto the text. So Srila Prabhupada is giving all of the characteristics of the Guru, of the bona fide Guru, and how to conduct oneself and understand the Guru, and understand that the Guru is above this world, not of this world. And so there's 2.5 pages of purports. Okay, so at the end of the purport, so now the next verse is text 331. Mantra Adhikari Mantra Siddhyadi Shodhana Diksha Prataha Smriti Kitya Socha Ātmārāma. You should discuss the qualifications necessary for receiving a mantra, the perfection of the mantra, the purification of the mantra, initiation, morning duties, remembrance of the Supreme Lord, cleanliness, and washing the mouth and other parts of the body. So again, Śrīla Prabhupada goes on to give a very long purport. Okay, so the next verse, we're going to the next verse, text 332. Danta Dhavana Snana Sandhyadi Bandhana Guru Seva Yudhya Pundra Chakradi Dhavana. In the morning, one should regularly brush his teeth, take his bath, offer prayers to the Lord, and offer obeisances to the spiritual master. One should render service to the spiritual master and paint one's body in 12 places with Udhava Pundra Tilak. One should stamp the holy names of the Lord on his body, or one should stamp the symbols of the Lord, such as a disc and club. Gopi Chandrana Malya Dviti Tulasi Aharana Vastra Pita Griha Samskara Krishna Pradokhana. After this, you should describe how one should decorate this body with Gopi Chandra, wear neck beads, collect tulsi leaves from the tulsi tree, cleanse his cloth and the altar, cleanse one's own house or apartment, and go to the temple and ring the bell, just to draw the attention of Lord Krishna. Pancha Shodasha Panchasat Upachare Archana Pancha Kala Puja Arati Krishnera Bhojana Shayana. Also describe deity worship, wherein one should offer food to Krishna at least 5 times daily. One should in due course place Krishna on a bed. You should also describe the process for offering arati and the worship of the Lord according to the list of 5, 16, or 50 ingredients. And again, there's a very long purport on this. So going to the next verse, which is text 335. Sri Murti Lakshana Ara Shalagram Lakshana Krishna Kshetra Krishna Murti Darashana. The characteristics of the deities should be discussed as well as the characteristics of the Shalagram Srila. One should also discuss visiting the deities in the temple and touring holy places like Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka. I'll just read this next verse. I'll read the next verse, next purport, because it's not too long. So the next verse, text 336. Nama Mahima, Nama Paradha Dore Vajana, Vaishnav Lakshana, Seva Paradha Khandana. Translation: You should glorify the holy name and carefully give up offences when chanting the holy name. One should know the symptoms of a Vaishnava. One must give up or nullify all kinds of seva aparad, offences in deity worship. So I'll just read this small purport. The devotee should always be very careful not to commit the 10 offences when chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. If a devotee very strictly follows the methods of deity worship, he will naturally and quickly become a pure Vaishnava. A pure Vaishnava has unflinching faith in the Lord, and he does not deviate at all. He is always engaged in perfect deity worship. One should also notice the specific offences against deity worship. These are mentioned in the Skanda Purana. spoken by Vyasadeva himself. One should liquidate all kinds of offences. The Shalagram Shiva should be worshipped with tulsi, where a sufficient quantity of tulsi leaves are available. Worship of Shalagram Shiva should be introduced in all ISKCON temples. Shalagram Shiva is the form of the Lord's mercy. To worship the deity with the 64 items mentioned may be a difficult job, but the Lord has become so small that anyone in any temple can carefully handle deity worship simply by performing the same activities with Shalagram Shiva. There are 32 offences that should be avoided. 1. One should not enter the temple in a vehicle. Shoes and slippers should be removed before entering the temple. 2. One should offer obeisances as soon as he sees the deity. 3. One should enter the temple after taking a bath. In other words, one should be very clean. 4. One should not offer obeisances to the Lord with one hand. 5. One should not circumambulate demigods before the deities. 6. One should not spread out his legs before the deity. 7. One should not sit down before the deity with his legs crossed, nor should one touch his legs with his hands. One should not lie down before the deity. 9. One should not eat before the deity. 10. One should not speak lies before the deity. 11. One should not speak very loudly before the deity. 12. One should not talk nonsense before the deity. 13. One should not cry before the deity. 14. One should not deal with others before the deity. 15. One should not utter harsh words before the deity. 16. One should not cover himself with a blanket. 17. One should not talk enviously of others before the deity. One should not praise others before the deity. 19. One should not use slang before the deity. 20. One should not pass air before the deity. 21. One should not neglect the 64 items of deity worship. 22. One should not eat anything not offered to the deity. 23. One should not neglect offering seasonal fruits as soon as they are available. 24. One should always offer fresh, untouched fruit to the deity. 25. One should not sit with his back towards the deity. 26. One should not offer obeisances to others before the deity. 27. One should not sit near the deity without taking the Miss Spiritual Master's permission. 28. One should not be proud to hear himself praised before the deity. 29. One should not blaspheme the demigods. 30. One should not be unkind to others before the deities. 31. One should observe all festivals in the temple. 32. One should not fight or quarrel before the deity. And that's the end of that purport. Text 337. Shankar Jala Ganda Pushpa Draupadi Lakshana Japa Shruti Parikrama Dandavat Vandana. The items of worship such as water, conch shell, flowers, incense and lamp should be described. You should also mention chanting softly, offering prayers, circumambulating and offering obeisances. All these should be carefully studied. Purport. All these are mentioned in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. The Ātmārāma Vilas of that book should be consulted as far as possible. Purashtarana Vidi Krishna Prasada Bhojana Anidadita Tyaga Vaisnav Nindandi Vajana. Other items to be considered are the methods of performing Purashtarana, taking Krishna Prasad, giving up unoffered food, and not blaspheming the Lord's devotees. Purport. Regarding the Vaishnava Ninda, see Madhya-līlā 15-60. Sadhu Lakshana, Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu Sevana, Asat Sangha Tyaga, Tri Bhagavat Shravana. One should know the symptoms of a devotee and how to associate with devotees. One should know how to satisfy the devotee by rendering service. and one should know how to give up the association of non-devotees. One should also regularly hear the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. Dina Kritya, Paksha Kritya, Ekati Shyati Vivarana, Masa Kritya, Janmastam Yadi Vidi Vicharana. You should describe the ritualistic duties of every day, and you should describe the fortnightly duties, especially observing Ekadashi fast, which comes every fortnight. You should also describe the duties of every month, especially the observance of ceremonies like Janmashtami, Rama Navami, and Nrsimha Chaturdashi. Ekadashi Janmashtami Vamana Dwardashi Sri Ram Navami Ara Nrsimha Chaturdashi. Ekadashi Janmashtami Vamana Dwardashi Rama Navami and Nrsimha Chaturdashi should all be observed. Asapa Vida Tyaga, Avidya Karana, Akarane Dosha, Kaile Bhaktira Lambana. You should recommend the avoidance of mixed Ekadashi and the performance of pure Ekadashi. Thank you, Prabhu. You should recommend the avoidance of mixed Ekadashi and the performance of pure Ekadashi. You should also describe the fault in not observing this. One should be very careful as far as these items are concerned. If one is not careful, one will be negligent in executing devotional service. Sarvatra Pramana Debe Purana Vachana Sri Murti Vishnu Mandira Karana Lakshana. Whatever you say about Vaishnava behavior, the establishment of Vaishnava temples and deities and everything else should be supported by evidence from the Puranas. Shamanya Sad Archara, Ara Vaishnava Archara. Kartavya Sabha Smarta Vyavahara. You should give general and specific descriptions of the behavior and activities of a Vaishnava. You should outline things that are to be done and things that are not to be done. All this should be described as regulations and etiquette. A Sankshepe Sutra Kahilun Dig Darashana Yabe Tumi Likiba Krishna Karabe Spurana. I have thus given a synopsis of the Vaishnava regulated principles. I have given this in brief just to give you a little direction. When you write on this subject, Krishna will help you by specifically awakening you. Purport. One cannot write on spiritual matters without being blessed by Krishna and the disciplic succession of gurus. The blessings of the authorities are one's power of attorney. One should not try to write anything about Vaishnava behavior and activities without being authorized by superior authorities. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Evam parampara praptam imam rajashayo viduhu. Eta kahilu prabhura sanatane prasada yahara shravane kriteva kande afasada. Thus I have narrated Lord Chaitanya's mercy upon Sanatana Goswami. When one hears these topics, one's heart will be cleansed of all contamination. Nija Grante Kanapaura Vishtara Kariya Sanatane Prabhura Prasada Ranchi Yache Nikya. The authorized poet Kavi Kanapura has written a book named Chaitanya Ch.24. This book tells how Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu blessed Sanatana Goswami with his specific mercy. Gaudendrasya Sabha Vibhushana Manis Tyaktva Ya Vidam Shriyam Rupasya Graha Aisha Eva Taruna Vairagya Lakshmin Dade Anta Bhakti Rasena Purna Vidayo Paya Vadhutakrihi Shaivalahe Pihitam Maha Sara Jiva Priti Pradas Tad Vidam. Srila Sanatana Goswami, the elder brother of Srila Rupa Goswami, was a most important minister in the government of Hussain Shah, the ruler of Bengal, and he was considered a most brilliant gem in that assembly. He possessed all the opulences of a royal position, but he gave up everything just to accept the youthful goddess of renunciation. Although he externally appeared to be a mendicant who had renounced everything, he was filled with the pleasure of devotional service within his heart. Thus, he can be compared to a deep lake covered with moss. He was the object of pleasure for all the devotees who knew the science of devotional service. This and the following two verses are from Chaitanya-caritāmṛta Madhya-līlā. We're almost at the end now of this chapter. Tam sanatanam upagatam akshno drishta matram Ātmārāma dayadraha aililinga parigayata dobhyam sanukampam ata champaka goraha. As soon as Sanatana Goswami arrived in front of Lord Chaitanya, the Lord, seeing him, became merciful to him. The Lord, who has the complexion of a golden champaka flower, opened his arms and embraced him while expressing great affection. Kalena Vrindavana Kali Vitra. Kalena Vrindavana Kali Vatra. Luptati tam kya payitam vishiyasya. Kripan ten na bishisheka devas tatreva rupam cha sanatanam cha. In the course of time, the transcendental news of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan was almost lost. To enunciate explicitly those transcendental pastimes, Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu at Prayag empowered Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami with the nectar of his mercy to carry out this work in Vrindavan. Aita kahilun sanatane prabhura prasada yahara shravane chitera kande afasada. I have thus explained the mercy bestowed on Sanatana Goswami by Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu. If one hears this, all moroseness in the heart will diminish. Krishnera Srup Ganera Sakara Haya Gyana Vidhi Laga Marge Sadhane Bhakti Ra Vidhana. By reading these instructions to Sanatana Goswami, one will become fully aware of Lord Krishna's various expansions and the process of devotional service according to the regulated principles and spontaneous love. Thus everything can be fully known. Krishna Prem Bhakti Ras Bhaktira Siddhanvita Ihara Shravane Bhakta Janena Sabha Anta. By reading this chapter, a pure devotee can understand love of Krishna, the mellows of devotional service, and the conclusion of devotional service. Everyone can understand all these things to their ultimate end, by studying this chapter. Śrī Caitanya-Nityananda Advaita Charana, Janya Prana Charana, Sai Paya A Dana. The conclusion of this chapter can be known to one whose life and soul are the lotus feet of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Advaita Prabhu. Sri Rupa Raghunath Hapade Yava Yasha, Ch.24 Kahe Krishna Das, praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I Krishna Das narrate Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta, following in their footsteps. That's the end of the chapter. The next chapter will be how all of the residents of Varanasi became Vaishnavas, and that will be chapter 25.
And how do we find a bonfire spiritual master? Bonfire.
But bona fide spiritual master is free of all material qualifications. He's totally his whole life is devoted to Krishna. He knows nothing about Krishna. He doesn't engage in material activities. Everything. He chants the holy name of Krishna constantly. He's always talking about Krishna. Well, you know more than, and he has all the symptoms that is described in the scriptures. Maybe you can elaborate on that. No. And a spiritual master is also one who inspires you to practice Krishna consciousness. If you meet somebody, a pure Vaishnava, a pure spiritual master, he always speaks from the shastras. He always speaks from the scriptures. He doesn't speak He doesn't speak anything that is not relevant, that is not authorized by the scriptures. He inspires you. He inspires you to want to serve Krishna.
Very beautiful. The scriptures and the guru and the sadhus has to be the same message, right?
It's exactly the same message. Yes, nothing, no deviation. He doesn't interpret according to his own material whims, like we don't. A materialist will interpret it according to their mind. And their mind will tell him this, but he doesn't. Proper spiritual masters, pure spiritual master, he only interprets it according to the shastras, according to the writings of the previous acharyas. He talks. He follows the teachings of his guru and the previous gurus, leading all the way back to the original guru.
And another symptom also is they never want anything from them.
Yes.
They want everything for their master.
Yeah, they want. Yes, definitely. Yeah, yes. Everything, all praise going to them. He directs it to his previous masters, his spiritual master, not to himself or to the previous masters.
And goes on.
And goes back to the original. Yes.
Very good. This is the current, the flow.
The flow. Yeah, the flow of truth.
Guru.
Yes, from.
But this is a really hard subject to try to understand who is Guru, what is Guru, right?
Yes, I'm not very qualified to talk about these things, but
But it's so nice because we have our gurus, and our gurus, they're carrying something. And Srila Sridhar, he gave us the Shiguru and his grace.
Yes, he gave us, Shiguru, and all the important books. He was Srila Prabhupada's teacher. He was inspired Srila ISKCON's, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who wrote all these books. And they both studied together. And of course, Srila Prabhupada considered him to be his teacher, Guru Maharaj to be his teacher. And Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur considered Srila Maharaj to be a pure devotee.
Very beautiful. You're very fortunate, right, Devananda Prabhu?
Yes.
We are extremely fortunate to have this connection with the purest current. There.
So are you going to sing, Prabhu? Are you going to?
I can. Yes, I can. Yaraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Yaraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Radha Shri Vasari Jai Shri Guru Garanga Radha Ki Vidhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Jai Shri Guru Garanga Gandhava Govinda Sundar Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vrishtipad Padamamsa Padavarchakacharya Varya Astata Tata Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Vichipaya Paramahamsa Paravaja Kachai Varya Astata Tata Shri Śrīmad Shri Bhakti Rakak Shri Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Vichipaya Paramahamsa Paravaja Kachai Varya Astata Tata Shri Śrīmad Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Jayam Vichipaya Shri Gauri Kishore Das Babiji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Vichipaya Shri Sachidananda Shri Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jayam Vichipaya Shri Jagannath Das Babiji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rupanuku Guruvaka Ki Jai. Namachar Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhu Prant Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Baladev Vrajabhusana Ki Jai. Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Narayana Shamananda Shri Nivasa Acharya Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Krisadas Kaviraj Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Rakana Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Rakana Shri Swamis of Vrindavan Ki Jai. Sarveshwara Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Sarveshwara Shri Man Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopani Ashram Kun Radha Kun Giva Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Lakshmi Varaha Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shri Nasingadan Ki Jai. Bhakti Prabhu Palad Maharaj Ki Jai. Ganga Janamarshi Ki Jai, Grantmarshi Bhagavatam Ch.24 Ki Jai, Tursi Maharani Ki Jai, Tursi Parikrama Ki Jai, Vishwa Vaishnava Vajras Bar Ki Jai, Ātmārāma Vajras Ch. Caitanya-caritāmṛta Ki Jai, Jaya Sakyamat Ki Jai, Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta Ki Jai, Vishwa Bhagavita Sakyamat Ki Jai, Śrī Mayapur Ki Jai, Śrī Nabadvip Ki Jai, Garam Purushottam Dham Ki Jai, Baladesu Bajaj Jagannath Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Kunkari Ki Jai, Shri Sadashri Ganga Darajo Ki Jai, Sambhaveta Vaishnava Mandali Ki Jai, Sambhaveta Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai, Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, all the devotees of Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta Madhya-līlā, all the assembled devotees Ki Jai, all the devotees all over the world Ki Jai, Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Nitya Gaur Premanandi Haribol,
Jai Devananda Prabhu Ki Jai,
Leela Moy Prabhu Ki Jai.